Our topic today is living with less. So I've had quite a journey myself with minimalism over the last few years. About 4 years ago, I got to see a TED talk that really touched me, and I realized that what I really needed to do in my life was reduce. And shortly after that, a massive catastrophe happened in my life, and minimizing my life landed up really being a great coping mechanism in my healing process. And today I live a very minimalist life as a full-time traveler, with everything that I own fitting in a suitcase. But my guest today has a far longer journey with minimalism, and I'm very happy to have Gareth Pickering, who is going to be joining us to talk about his journey with minimalism. So Gareth is the founder of the Freedom Fighter. As part of the Freedom Fighter, he helps people find freedom in their own lives. And minimalism is one of the things that he teaches and practices himself in terms of his own freedom in his life. I met Gareth a few years ago, and actually it wasn't even that long ago, it's a year and a half ago, but it feels very long. And Gareth has played a very important role in my own journey towards the space that I am today, as a full-time traveler and as somebody who has found my own freedom and in my own minimalist life. So a very warm welcome to Gareth. Hello, Gareth, and welcome to our broadcast today. So just to elaborate a little bit on my own story. So 4 years ago, in fact, it's almost exactly 4 years ago, in 2013, to a TED Talk. It was the very first time that I went to go watch live TED Talk. I was about the second or third speaker in when an amazing woman came on stage, and she started talking about her life, minimizing everything in her life, and how that freed everything up for her. It made such an impact on me, so much so that while sitting there afterwards, I actually debated whether I should sit through the other 15 talks for the day, or I should go home and start throwing stuff away. Very shortly after that, my relationship with my husband came to an end. Literally, it was 2 weeks later, and I decided to take up Angela's Minimalist Challenge, and I spent the next 30 days getting rid of anything that wasn't serving. And I have continued to revisit that over the last few years, and that really has played a huge role in not only in my healing, but also in understanding myself better and understanding a lot of the baggage that comes around keeping stuff or collecting stuff or having stuff.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. How are you, Brad van Bijleveld? I can see you there, and Jane, my dad, Mike. How's it going, guys?
Hello, hi, Candace. Great to have you here as well. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're going to get straight into the interview. So, Gareth, maybe you want to just start telling us a little bit about yourself and what triggered actually this need to minimize your life.
A little bit about me. I am I went through sort of a midlife crisis a couple of years ago. I had a business back in Johannesburg in advertising, and it went really well. I ran the business for like around 10 years, and I really enjoyed the time and the opportunity that it afforded me. But yeah, I got to a stage where I think I wanted to make a change in my life, and a sequence of events just basically led me to a point where I managed to get out of my business. My business partner continued to run the business, and I carried on my own. And about almost 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I left on a journey to, it was going to be at my friend's wedding in Europe, and then on to Asia. And along the way, I just decided that I was enjoying my life on the road so much, and the idea of being a digital nomad and having this opportunity or the potential opportunity to make money online while still living wherever you choose to live and do the things that you wanted to do. For me, that happened to be travel, was something that I decided to explore. And yeah, I've managed to design my life in a way that allows me to work online. My business, The Freedom Fighter, is a sort of a personal development business. It's an extension of my life, and it is me. I write that I do, I share content about the things that I'm doing, and I use the content to inspire other people. And at the moment, we're working on some projects around helping people to do the same, but specifically through online businesses. So we are launching a program in the next couple of weeks, which is going to help people take an idea, even if they don't even have an idea, and build an online website and launch an online business. Because along the way, it's basically just been one of those things that's come to me. People continually ask me and the people that I work with, how do you manage to do this? How do you live? How do you earn a living on the road? So we've decided to put together a program which is launching in a couple of weeks around that. So that's basically my story in terms of how I got to where I am at the moment. At the moment, I'm in a place called Antigua, which is in Guatemala in Central America. And I'm here at the moment to work on this project that I was just telling you about now, and also to learn Spanish. So I'm in Spanish school for 4 hours a day at the moment, which is it's interesting. I'm enjoying learning a new language, but it's quite tricky and quite humbling, learning like a 3-year-old again, learning what a pen is and how to ask for a pen, and so that's been cool. And yeah, my minimalism journey, which is the topic that we're talking about today, that's just something that came about almost by mistake. It is a function of the fact of living on the road. I had everything that I had, similar to you at the moment now, everything that I have in a backpack and hand luggage, and as a result, all my stuff, which was in storage back in South Africa, which I left there when I started my trip 3.5 years ago, I realized that I was going to continue living my life like this. So I went back home and sold all that stuff, and that stuff looked like washing machines and tumble dryers and bedside tables and everything that filled an entire house. And it was basically in storage for the past 2.5 years by the time I got back there. And I sold all that stuff, and I now live a life of, I keep my stuff down to my stuff, less than 150 items. And yeah, it's doing pretty well. And that's basically how I got, because it wasn't actually a conscious thing. It's just something that happened. And as a result, I found out about this idea of minimalism and things like that. But it happened not so much as a conscious decision to go out and do it. It happened as a function of the fact that I was on the road.
Okay, brilliant. And tell me, what is because you've now become a minimalist, even if it was more by default, what are the benefits that you actually experienced from having a minimized life?
I've written a blog post about this, and it's something that I've actually been able to look back at, with perspective and hindsight now. And a lot of the things that I'm able to do now, just basically, yeah, one of the benefits I think is just the clarity that you've got. And I'm very interested in this idea of the decisions that we make and why we make decisions and things like decision fatigue. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I had quite a high decision fatigue around things like making decisions about the things that I was going to wear. For example, I had a thing with clothes. I love clothes. I love the way I dressed. I had a thing with jeans. I used to wear jeans to work. I used to wear jeans in a social environment. So I had, I don't know, it was probably a ridiculous number, like 40 pairs of jeans. And I loved them, and I used to fill my life with jeans because that was what I worked hard for and spend money on expensive jeans. And yeah, it became a really difficult thing to be able to make a decision about what I wanted to wear in the morning, because I've got 40 pairs of jeans, and suddenly I'm deciding, are these the ones that I want to wear? Do I want to wear these ones? These ones are expensive, but they don't fit as well. And it's almost a sort of a programmed decision that you don't consciously think about, but it took up a huge amount of headspace in my day. So I think that's one of the things, is just the clarity of not having to make those continual decisions around the things that, for me, it was clothes. Now if I'm going to gym, I put on my trainers and I go to gym. Those are the same trainers that I use for running. Those are the same trainers that I use when I want to walk around outside and I want to keep my feet warm. I have 3 pairs of shoes. I used to have 3 pairs of shoes just for CrossFit. I used to have 4 pairs of running shoes. I used to have different pair of shoes for gym. You decide that you want to go to CrossFit. You suddenly decide which pair of shoes you like. That stuff takes up a huge amount of headspace. And I think that's probably one of the biggest benefits that I found as a function of minimalizing my life. And actually the biggest decision after that, or the biggest thing, the biggest upside of minimalism after that, is just this idea of conscious purchasing and conscious consumption, where I now decide very consciously before I go and buy a pair of shoes, because first of all, I need to carry them. And that obviously has an impact because I move around quite a bit. But secondly, this idea about, do I need to have another pair of shoes at the moment? Do I need to replace my trainers, And so those are really the things that just make me a little bit more aware of the things that I have in my life. And instead of just buying things for the sake of buying them, I buy them with a purpose. So it's that awareness and that consciousness about how I consume things and how I purchase things that I think is one of the benefits of minimalizing my life that I've found there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Cool.
Gareth, tell me a little bit, can you explain or compare for us what is your typical day now to beforehand, before you had this life with less, but it's more?
I think in terms of how it looks at the moment, my life before was really different. While I was still working hard, I would sit in traffic quite a lot to get to work. I would rush a lot between meetings and things like that. This life with less is also this idea that you also, not just stuff. I mean, I've minimalized my life in terms of actual things, clothes, shoes, the stuff that I spoke about earlier. But there's also this idea that you minimalize your life in terms of other things. You become very conscious of the things that you choose to take on, like, consuming content. We live in a world that is driving content at us at an amazing rate. And I'm really interested in this idea of the attention economy, about how we are the product for social networks. Our attention is the product for advertisers and social networks. And I think this idea of just being super conscious about those things and minimalizing that stuff as well is also part of the process for me. So getting rid of things is one thing. But so, for example, at the moment, I've got quite strict rules with myself about when I turn on my mobile phone. First thing in the morning is not the time that I turn on my phone. I give myself time with myself to go through a specific morning routine, which I never used to do in my old life. It's just getting back to your question. I spend some time doing things on my own, reflective type, very internal type morning routine stuff that I look at personally. And I go through those things on a daily basis before I decide to turn on my phone and connect to the world. Because as soon as that happens, an email starts to come in, and I connect with my business and my community of people, which I really love doing. I've had the time to plan my day and not just jump straight into it. So I think the minimalism comes also around those things. So yeah, my day at the moment looks a little bit like I wake up every day. One of the things I'm quite strict with myself about is this idea of routine, because despite being on the road, I get more stuff done in my life when I've got routine. So I get up super early. I spend some time meditating for the first half an hour of my day. I write morning pages. I do affirmations. I do visualization type stuff. So the first basically hour of my day is pretty much spent on my own and planning what my day is going to look like. Then some form of exercise, and then sit down and start my day. At the moment, my day is pretty short because I only really have until 1 p.m. every day, and then I start Spanish school, for 4 hours in the afternoon. So that takes up quite a bit of my day, and so I'm doing that at the moment. And then I really enjoy spending time with people in the evenings and exploring the cities and the places that I'm living in. So Antigua is this it's an old Spanish town that when the Spanish came to Guatemala, they set up. So it's got amazing architecture, the cool restaurants and stuff. So I spend the time in the evenings doing that sort of stuff, and again, maybe doing a little bit of work. So that's pretty much how my life looks at the moment, with this conscious idea of minimalizing also the things that I do in my day. So we can all pack ourselves super, super busy all the time, and we have a tendency to do that. And I think the world tells us we need to be super busy because when we're super busy, we're super productive and we're worth a lot if we're really busy. But that may not always be the best choice for me anyway, and maybe for a lot of other people. That take some time for yourself and minimalize those activities as well.
Okay, brilliant. Yes. So not only are you looking at being conscious around the material things, but also around your time and your energy and where you're spending it and where you're expending it.
Exactly.
Understood.
Yeah, exactly.
Has it had an impact on relationships and how you engage and interact with other people?
Yeah, a lot. The whole idea about this as a mindset, like it extends. Initially, it just started out by stuff, like that was the thing. But in understanding the concept of minimalism.
Okay, so I think we've just lost Gareth again. Hopefully it's just for a few seconds. So while we wait for Gareth, I'm going to continue to tell you a little bit about my own story with minimalism. As I've mentioned, I too only live now pretty much out of what's in my suitcase. I've only recently started traveling, so I do actually still have a few things in storage back home, but I very quickly, literally within the first month, started feeling like that was a mistake not to have gotten rid of that, and it will be the very first thing I do when I get back home sometime next year, is to get rid of all that, because even from afar it does bring about a bit of stress. And that's one of the things that I've really realized, is how much stuff can be, everything comes with payments, insurance costs, all sorts of other baggage that comes with it, and how much of our time we actually spend working in order to have the means to pay for stuff. Okay, so Gareth is back, so let me just quickly bring him back online for us. Okay.
Hey,
hi,
welcome. Sorry. Got him on the internet.
Okay. No worries. Okay, so before we were interrupted, you were telling us about the impact on relationships.
I think I just started off by saying that this idea of minimalism and conscious choices about the stuff that you put in your life tends to extend to other things. So for me, it started specifically with things like clothes and stuff because of my traveling and that. But it also then makes you conscious and a little bit more aware of the relationships that you have in your life, and you make some tough calls at some point. And I have also spent the last couple of years studying at a very, very superficial level Buddhism, and this idea of non-attachment, and this idea that we are pretty much conditioned, or I was, to this idea that we should basically be connected to people and stay friends with them forever, or relationships are supposed to last a long time. And I got to a stage in minimalizing my life where I also had to make a call on some relationships and be okay with the fact that I've had to let some people go, or just the rhythm of that relationship maybe changes to some extent, because their paths are different to mine, and it's talking about it now sounds easy, but those things require a lot of work and a lot of conscious understanding to get to this idea that this person I've been really close with for a long time, he and I, or she and I, are no longer on the same path anymore, and we need to be okay with that fact, and not being too attached to the idea that we believe that we're going to be friends forever, or the relationship was going to look a specific way forever. But just minimalizing those things as well, and deciding which are the ones that add the most value to you, because it's really, life is a journey about self. You need to make sure that you're good with yourself, and you need to make a call on some of those things. So the minimalism, I think, does to some extent extend to relationships, and again, just that idea of consciousness and how you decide to make those decisions. And I don't really like the word pruning, but that idea that you need to cut back some space to make space for other things is sometimes actually a good thing.
Yes. Okay. Brilliant. So what would your advice is? Maybe watching here now and thinking, this sounds good. I think that it's something that I should be approaching in my life, but I have no idea where to start, or I'm too scared to start, or it's not going to work for me, or how am I possibly going to survive without my 100 pairs of shoes? So what would your advice be for them?
First of all, it's this idea is that it's just a journey. It doesn't have to be your idea of minimalism, or your idea of decluttering doesn't have to look like my world. My idea of 150 things works for me, but I don't have a significant other or 2 kids in school, or so my world may look very different to other people's world. So this is not a process of trying to get down to 100 items in your life, or being super zen, but just this idea of maybe awareness. If you have an area of your life that feels cluttered, I think the first step would be, in terms of advice, is just finding that awareness and looking for that clutter. And that clutter could be your email inbox. That clutter could be relationships, too many people, too many apps, too much social media, too much stuff. It could be the drawer that you have in your house with a whole lot of shit inside that you never really look in there. I had 5 of those areas in my life that were just places with stuff in it, you know, and I'm now talking about physical stuff, you know, like a cupboard at home, which like, oh, birthday presents that I couldn't throw away and boxes of products that I didn't have the heart to get rid of all went into there. So I think the first step would probably be identifying those areas so that you can see where that clutter is and knowing what that is. And then making a decision in terms of how much you want to get rid of that stuff. So how do you go through that process of getting rid of that stuff? You know, some people might be, right, I've now had enough. I'm going to clean out my garage and I'm going to do it today and do everything. And that may be a way to approach it. For somebody, it might be something that feels a little too overwhelming to just go and attack that cupboard. So, you know, find the rhythm that works for you, but have this idea that you're going to do something about it. So maybe that's like, if it's physical items in your life, maybe just go through this idea that you're going to set yourself a 30-day challenge and you get rid of 5 items a day for 30 days and just see how that feels, you know. Or find one specific area that you want to look at every single week, a physical area in your house. Right, today I'm going to get into the garage and then I'm going to do the garden shed, you know, because we've got clutter everywhere. I mean, if my life is like what it was, it's just like anybody else's. There's a huge amount of stuff. So yeah, it's overwhelming when you look at it all at once, but just identify one area, start small, you know, do some stuff. If you've got a partner in your life or somebody that you want to do this with, make yourselves accountable to each other, maybe, you know, have the idea that you're going to do this together, because I think that would be quite a good way to stay on track and, yeah, work together on that. And then, yeah, just make that part of your routine, you know, this idea that, you know, every couple of weeks we're going to take an area, or we're going to continue to get rid of a few things every day until we're at a stage where we believe we've got rid of this clutter. And again, I'm talking now specifically about stuff, but this could be a routine of like getting rid of your inbox. You know, I know some people sit with piles and piles of email. I used to in my old world. We all believe it's significantly important to our lives and our importance and our jobs and all of this stuff. But yeah, maybe there's a routine that needs to happen around email where you need to zero your inbox every single Monday morning, whatever that means to you. And, you know, I've read some interesting stuff around email. Like, there's one guy who has this thing, you know, he's got an inbox of 1,000 emails. And he just one day just decided to delete all of them. Just, you know, everyone's got 1,000 emails that like, it's just all important stuff, but no one can have 1,000 important things. This idea that you just delete all of it and then just see what comes back. Like, you know, the world will go on without you responding to those 1,000 emails. But yeah, and I guess that's like a pretty hardcore approach. But yeah, take it at the pace that you want to, develop a routine to get out of it. And then once you've got that routine, I guess it starts to come naturally, but also this idea of continually keeping that awareness around how you do things, you know, the consciousness around how you decide to buy more things. You know, if you clear out the garage, like the worst thing you can do is run through Builder's Warehouse and go and buy a whole lot of new stuff, you know, like be aware of how you got to where you got to. And if you clear it out, be consciously aware of getting back there, because this is like the trap of getting stuck into it again. You know, you filled your life with jeans because those are the things that made you feel like you were worthwhile, or because you were working hard, you deserved all of these jeans. But if you then go and get rid of them, to fill your life with jeans again is probably like a bit of an exercise in futility. So the idea is more around having the routine, but then just being consciously aware of it. And I think once you start to clear it, it also, like I told you earlier, this idea of buying another pair of shoes, the less you have, the less you realize that you need to have. And it makes you conscious when you decide to go and buy something new, or when you decide to sign up for another newsletter. You know, everyone's online, like signing up for all this stuff. Your inbox is suddenly just an absolute disaster because we've got into this habit of being like, okay, I'll sign up for this and I'll sign up for this. And then you don't realize how you got there. But if you spend the time going through and cleaning your inbox, it makes you more conscious the next time you sign up to a newsletter. Like, do I really need this? You know, so that continual awareness is also, I guess, part of it. And maybe the last one around awareness is just tracking what you do. So maybe, I don't know, some sort of like a tracking application. I've always been really good with money, but just in the last couple of months, I've started physically tracking all my expenses with a simple iPhone app. It's called Trail Wallet if anybody wants to use it. It's really useful. It's super easy to use. You just track everything that you're doing. It takes like a few seconds to track each individual expense. And again, that tracking just makes you more conscious of what you did. Like, I always knew how much I spent, but at the end of the month, I now have information to be able to see like how much I spent on entertainment, or how much I spent on going out, or things that are good for me and things, you know, and you're just a little bit more aware. So yeah, I guess the idea of tracking and measuring is probably the last way I would suggest that you could go on this path to minimalism and maybe stay on it. But I think in summary, just in terms of what it is just make a start. Identify the area that you want it to be. Identify how you'd like it to look. You know, if 0 inbox is your goal or 100 emails in your box is your goal, that's fine. It doesn't have to be my goal. It doesn't have to be the next person's goal. Set a goal that you're comfortable with, and then be conscious of staying on the routine that you've set up for yourself.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gareth. Yes, that's great advice. So just to summarize very, very quickly, so just a few bullet points of what Gareth just said now. He said that we should just identify where there is clutter and just create an awareness around it. Just get started on minimizing. Doesn't matter what it is you do, whether it is that you want to do it all in once, or if you want to do it a little bit day by day, just get started. Develop a routine. Create an awareness around why, so that you don't just reclutter again after you got rid of it. And then lastly, track and measure it so that you can just check to see what you're doing and that it doesn't all happen again. Great.
And the one thing is this idea of understanding is just a simple awareness that I've managed to just get my head around at some point. And this is the idea of, for me, it was spending. This idea that every single time you buy something, you basically, it's fine when you buy something because we've seemed to have somehow broken the link between how we got the money in the first place and how we spend the money, that idea of how that happened. But this idea that if you take that, if you basically allow yourself to see that every single time you spend money, you're basically giving away some of your time. That was a big realization for me, you know. So this idea that I went into the store and continually bought jeans or whatever your thing was that you spend money on, every single time you do that, you're giving away some time because that's time that you've taken to earn that money in order to buy this thing. And suddenly for me, I was like, wow, you know, the more stuff I buy, the more I need to make money and spend time working in order to do that, the less time I have for myself. So yeah, that was also quite an interesting, I guess probably people understand this more than I do, but for me it was quite a realization that every single time you put your hand into your pocket and spend money, if you're not conscious of it, you basically got time because you still need to eat and do the things that you do in your life. But you need to work longer to have more money if you're going to buy more.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, so I did go online. I see that Leanne has joined us. Welcome, Leanne. I see that you also said hi. So I don't have any questions here yet. So while I wait to see if anybody wants to add any questions, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our giveaway this week. So this week, if you want to get started and you need a little bit of help or you want to be held accountable to that journey, then I am giving away a 1-month subscription to Coach Me, where you will get through the Coach Me Messenger app daily motivation from me to minimize for 1 month. So I'm giving away 1-month subscription to Coach Me. So if you would like that, please pop the word giveaway into the comments bar, and you'll be able to sign up to be considered for that. Okay, so just put in the word giveaway, and then we will take a look to see, and somebody will get to have that free 1-month subscription. So I see we have got a comment here from Candace. Candace says, I tend to give away stuff very easily, but I also tend to buy very quickly too. I like the idea of giving away a few items daily. Cool. Yes, Candace. Do you want to comment on that, Gareth?
Give that shit away. No, I mean, I know how it happens, you know, and that's, I think what Candace is talking about there is that awareness. You know, you go through the process of doing something like giving it away or going through, you know, I'm unsubscribing from all these emails, like I'm going to clear my inbox, and then the next day you're like, oh, that looks cool, and you're back in. You know, it's the same thing, and it's just that awareness. You know, the fact that Candace has mentioned it means that she's aware of it. You know, and this thing is also like it's a journey. You know, and we need to be like super gentle on ourselves here, because it's not like right, today I've done it, I'm giving away everything that's good. You get stuck back into this conditioning. We live in a world where we're continually conditioned by the stuff that we read and media and all the stuff that we should be buying more things and more stuff. And, everybody should have at least 3 cars. You haven't made it if you haven't got 3 cars. This idea that we are conditioned like that. And so, yeah, I get it. You give stuff away and then suddenly you realize, whoa, I'm back here, Be gentle with yourself. Yes. Be okay with that stuff. You're a human being. Like it's not just from one day to the next. It's solved. It's a journey. So yeah, keep giving it away, but just keep aware of the fact that you get back into that habit pretty easily.
So Brad's also got a comment here. He says, "Hey Gareth, living the way you do and the principles you follow, what is the eventual goal or outcome you'd like to get to, or do you just go from day to day?"
Are you Bradley from Bielefeld? Brad, I don't really have a specific goal in the end. Like I didn't start this out with a goal. It's just something that came along the way. Yeah, I'm in a pretty fortunate position, where I have income coming in every single month, and I need to consciously be aware that I don't refill my life with stuff, because this idea that you take the money that you have and then you go and spend it on the things that you think that you want to. But yeah, my goal is just to rather allocate my earnings to experiences that I feel enhance my life more than things which clutter my life and add to that decision fatigue that I was talking about earlier. So there's no real end game. It's just to roll up from one day to the next, and just keep developing my level of consciousness around this topic for everything, And this is like, let me just put this in as like a caveat. Like, I've minimalized my life really well with stuff, but I also like my journey with things like email newsletters and stuff like that and online communities is something that in my life needs a huge amount of work, and I'm very aware of that. I find myself very busy, like I busy myself with things, and I'm like, it overwhelms me sometimes. I'm like, oh, I've got so much to do. The other one I haven't even spoken about is your to-do list. Like, you can minimalize your to-do list. I'm like a strict list person. I write down everything that I want to do. I actually need to make a conscious decision to be like, do I need so many things on my to-do list? Is this stuff all important? Or, just like the guy who deleted all of his emails, what if I deleted everything on my to-do list and just gave myself that space and said, right, everything that goes on from today, I'm going to be more conscious of. That's something that I need to work on. So my stuff minimalized. I mean, it sounds pretty zen, the conversation I've had, and I'm finding that quite easy. To answer Brad's question, I've got another monster I need to get my head around in terms of minimalism at the moment. And that's like my to-do list and my online stuff, my email and stuff like that. I managed to disguise it very, very cleverly to myself in that I work online and I need to continually educate myself and I need to grow as a person. And, this is my internal dialogue. But I also find that inside that, I suddenly feel overwhelmed some days. I'm like, holy shit, how have I got so many emails? Or how have I got so many things on my to-do list? How do I, so I need to go through that in myself. So yeah, there's no real end goal. It's just this continual creating of awareness and making sure that you're conscious of the things that you choose to do, buy, people that you see, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yes, and I guess this is an ongoing journey. This is when you master one thing and you consciously got something under control, then it just opens up the doors to look at other areas in your life. And there's always this place where there's opportunity for improvement or more consciousness, or to have, There's
that game we used to play as kids, where you like hit the crocodile with a hammer, like it's like in an arcade, and then the thing comes out and bites you. Like just as soon as you got one under control, another one comes out to bite you. Like, yeah, it's a journey. You need to continually be working on this stuff. Yeah.
And I guess in a way, you almost have to declutter something in order to be able to see the next level of clutter or blockage that there may be. You can't have that awareness if you haven't cleared the layer on top of that. So each time we get a look at that.
And that one that you've spoken about now is huge in terms of relationships. This idea that, everybody's out there looking for the next person. I need a new best friend, or I really want to find my soulmate. But like, have you properly cleared like the residual baggage that you've got from other relationships in your life, and we hang on to those things and we fill ourselves with more things. Like, you need to create that space in order to make space for things like relationships, and sometimes that's also not necessarily clear to us because we hang on to old stuff, or, you know, like we've got nostalgia around a specific person or something like that. And yeah, it's something that also needs just bring your awareness to.
Yeah, and I think for myself right now, that is one of the biggest things foremost in my life. It's the first time in my life where most of the people that I'm dealing with, all the people that I'm dealing with face to face, are people that I will have a temporary or transient relationship with. And seeing that there's a lot of beauty and value and connection even in those, and that it's still worthwhile to connect and engage and invest your energy, even knowing that, you know, in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to be leaving this city, and still making that effort to connect, even though I know I'm not going to be besties with a person for years and years like I was back home.
And being okay with that.
And being completely okay with that. And obviously that for me is my big growth area, because, you know, it's still new for me. And for you, that's obviously something that you've kind of gotten over quite a while ago. But yeah, and and that's also part of it. It's that consciousness around that, and that is value and that you can get out of that.
Mm. You know the reason, season, and lifetime story, Al? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. Gareth, I want to say thank you so much for joining here today. It was really, really interesting, very valuable. I'm sure that our viewers really, really enjoyed it. Cool. Thank you for taking the time out. Yes, and I know I've taken up most of your morning, and it's very precious because I know you're heading off to Spanish class very soon. So, but thank you so much for that. And I want to close off just with a quote, which I thought was really apt for what had today. Perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. So I thought that was really something worth achieving. And so I'd like to just say thank you so much again to my guest, Gareth. Thank you for all of you for tuning in. And I will see you all next week, same time, same place. Have a beautiful week. Bye.